Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about tips and strategies that you'll need to help you fight your case in court. And we're going to start out with a few questions. And then in the end, we're going to answer the questions, and we'll see how you did with your answers to the questions. So the first question is, do you know who is really in charge in court? It's either going to be the attorney or the judge. And think about that. Because if you get that wrong, you just got hosed and you lost. The number 2 question is, do you know how to attack your foreclosure outside of court? Third question we're going to cover is, do you know what to say when the clerks refuse to file your documents? Those are the things we're going to cover today. These tips can make a difference in whether or not you get a fair chance in court. So today, we're going to cover these important tips and strategies to help you in your fight to save your property from foreclosure. But first, if this is your first time here and you want to learn how to attack your foreclosure outside of court, subscribe and click the bell down below so you don't miss anything. Let's just jump right in. My name's Guy Neighbors. I'm a paralegal. I teach people how to apply non-conventional foreclosure defense strategies that you can use today in your fight. Okay, this video is part of a 14 video playlist for foreclosure defense tips and strategies on my YouTube channel. So we're gonna just get right into it. We're gonna address the fraud officers of the court get away with by violating the court procedures and what you need to do about it. So in this video, we're gonna learn how to handle this type of fraud, which could be the difference between whether or not you get your fair chance to fight in court or get unlawfully kicked out of court. So this is important. So make sure you're taking notes. So one of the problems that homeowners have when fighting foreclosure is not realizing when the officers of the court are violating your rights with their inability to follow proper procedure, what you need to do about it. So who do you think is really in charge in court? The attorney or the judge? Okay, time's up. Pencils down. If you answered the judge, my friend, you are wrong. The attorney is the one in control in court. And when I explain this, you'll probably go, oh. And this is my opinion based off of the years of doing this and helping people. So the attorney meets with the judge and they review how they're going to do you before you show up for court. By the time you show up for court, they've already decided what's going to happen and how things are going to go down. And the funny thing is, attorneys communicate, attorney bar members, we'll say bar members because we're including the judge in this, communicate kind of like a married couple, you know? They can know what needs to be said or communicate with each other without actually saying anything. And most people that are in the courtroom don't even catch it. Most people don't realize that the attorney is also the real plaintiff and unlawfully operating as a debt collector. And when I say unlawfully acting as a debt collector, that is exactly what I mean. And we'll go over that later on. But right now, the plaintiff is actually the attorney acting as a debt collector. Most people miss that and do not have the right person as the number 1 defendant in a lawsuit. And they go down the tube because that is very important to make sure that you have the right person that you're holding responsible for what's going on when you get around to filing your lawsuit against them. So what we do is we add the attorney to the wrongful foreclosure lawsuit as the number 1 defendant. And just to make it clear, we do that because the attorney's signature is the only signature on the paperwork that they're using to foreclose against your property. Check. If you think I'm kidding, check. You'll see that nobody from the bank signs it. Nobody from the bank signs anything. The only signatures that's on that paperwork belongs to the attorney. So we add the attorney to the wrongful foreclosure lawsuit as the number 1 defendant, and we add the law firm as the number 2 defendant, and then we add the servicer third. The goal is to force the attorney to have to protect the servicer, because what the servicer did, the servicer claimed the mortgage insurance and claimed the charge off on their taxes, the mortgage as a charge off on their taxes. And then the servicer unlawfully sold the alleged debt to third-party collectors. And that's how that goes down. So you want to make sure that you force your attorney to have to protect the servicer. And this is what you accomplish by this strategy. The attorney can't represent a case that they're a party in. They can't represent themselves. And a lot of people don't realize that the attorney also is not allowed to represent the law firm that they're affiliated with. That's considered pro se representation. And as a corporation, you are not allowed to go into court and represent yourself. So that creates a problem for the attorneys. And it's a great strategy to use because it forces the attorneys to have to hire an outside counsel to help them. And when you figure this out and you add the attorneys to the list as a number one defendant, that creates a huge problem. And when these attorneys are trying to find someone to help them, you know, I'm wondering what that conversation would be, is that these attorneys are having a hard time finding someone to represent them. And we have several people in our program that have actually been able to file the notice of default because attorneys could not respond fast enough. And usually what they do, usually they have someone from their law firm step up and file the paperwork to respond. And that's a problem, because in my package, I have a document strike the attorney's notice of appearance, because the attorney is not allowed to represent the law firm that they're affiliated with. So when you file a document to strike the attorney's notice of appearance, you're basically striking everything that the attorney filed, because without that notice of appearance, everything the attorney filed gets out the window. And that's how we handle that. And that forces the attorneys to have to find someone else. And you see how this thing kind of starts to unwind a little bit in your favor. Now, I'm going to explain to you how to attack your foreclosure outside of court. Now that you know the attorney is the person that runs the show in court, now you understand what this next strategy is going to be about. And that strategy is messing with the attorneys. You know, one of the things I tell people whenever you're talking to these people, whether it's the clerk or the attorneys from the other side or whatever, you want to always refer to your legal team. You know, my legal team put these paperwork together. My legal team this, my legal team that. And just mess with their head. Now, one of the things that we do is we teach you how to get in the attorney's face and harass them outside of court, just like they've been doing you. We have clients call the attorney's office and harass them. You want to call them and ask them for stuff that you need. Like, for instance, on page 7 of the lawsuit document, I think it's page 7, I listed the actual bank's accounting records that you need to verify that your alleged loan was always an asset for the bank and never liability. Very few people know exactly the name of those records and how to ask for them. We have them listed in the lawsuit, and that lets the attorneys know that they're going to have to fork that up in discovery if they want to drag you into court. Now, what I have people do is review the wrongful foreclosure lawsuit and choose one area. Like, the first thing you want to ask for, obviously, are those documents that I just mentioned. Okay, write them down, make a little script, couple of minutes or whatever, and call the attorney's office and ask for the attorney. Now, the first time you may get to talk to your attorney, okay, and then you let them know that you're going to need to have all those documents, name the documents off, and let them know that you need those because those documents that verify the true nature of the alleged loan, blah, 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 and throw that right on the table. Now, the next time you call them, the gatekeeper more likely than not is not going to let you go to, they're going to send you to the attorney's voicemail, which is cool, because now you can talk to the attorney's voicemail without being nervous. And you make your script again, asking for something out of your lawsuit package that you know they ain't going to want to talk about. And you harass them like that. I call them a couple times a week, asking them for stuff. Now, your goal when you're doing this is you let the attorneys know that you're going to be a pain in the ass in court, okay? If the attorney knows that they can't control you, they're not going to be in a big hurry to get your butt in court. Now, also what you need to do is research FARA, F-A-R-A. Now that stands for the Foreign Agent Registration Act. And when you research that, you will see that it's a federal law. And these foreign agents are supposed to register, and they never do. They're supposed to register, they're supposed to list who all they work for, and all. There's a whole list of stuff they're supposed to do. They don't ever do any of that. And that's actually part of the Justice Department. And there's actually a national attorney general that's supposed to handle that stuff, which was pretty incredible when I found that out. So what you do is you call them, oh man, if you get past the gatekeeper, when you get the gatekeeper, you let them know, hey, you tell them your name. You always want them to know who you are and that you're going to be a pain in their butt. And then you let the gatekeeper know that you'd like to make an appointment to come down and to their office and review their foreign agent registration documentation to verify that they are legal, that they are a legal foreign agent. Because if they're not legal and they haven't filled out all the stuff that's supposed to be filled out, then they have no standing in court to be up in there trying to take your stuff. And that's pretty much the way that works out. So next, we're going to cover how to handle it when the clerk refuses to file your pleadings in the court record. And I talked about this in another video, but I think it's really important because I think, you know, when you go to file stuff or anytime you're in court, people get nervous and you forget. So if you go to file your stuff and the clerk's giving you a hard time, well, first thing you want to do is there's a filing requirement on a state level for every state. And if you look up that filing requirement and review it, you'll see it's pretty liberal, okay? The rules they try to make you follow when you get to court are called the local rules. And the local rules are in contrast to the Constitution. And they're pretty much for attorneys when attorneys are filing stuff. And these rules help move stuff through the court faster. And anytime things are getting moved to the court faster, you're getting the shaft. So that's a good way to look at that. So when you're there and you're trying to file your documents and the clerk's giving you a hard time and not accepting them or is refusing to file them, what you want to do is ask the clerk a question. You want to ask the clerk, do you have authority to make a legal determination on my pleadings? And they don't. Only the judge has authority to do that. And I haven't had anybody, most of the time, when you throw that on the table, they straighten up. Now, well, I had one guy that did that, and he told them, you know, he asked them if they had legal authority to, you know, to make a determination on paperwork. And the dude went and got his supervisor. And the supervisor came back, and they were kind of grumpy. They were real grumpy. And they told him they weren't going to file his stuff. They didn't like the sanction motion. And that was part of the problem. So what I usually tell people is not to give them all of your stuff at one time. Just do one document at a time. Get your lawsuit filed first, and then get that case number. And then if you got to file your restraining order, you can write the case number on the restraining order, and then you hand them that. And then if you're filing the sanction motion, then you can write the case number on the sanction motion after you got the restraining order filed, and then you hand them that one at a time. And that kind of helps this situation where they feel like they want to stop you from filing your stuff. But anyway, I had one client call me and told me they tried to stop him from filing his stuff. He gave him everything at the same time. They went over and looked at it. Then they called the supervisor, and they was all looking at it, and they were giving him a hard time. And he told them, he said, look, you guys need to file my stuff. And they refused to file it. So he asked them if they, you know, had an authority to make a legal determination, blah, blah, blah. He did everything the way he's supposed to. And they told him they weren't filing his stuff. So, and they tried to give it back to him. They were, you know, trying to hand it back to him, you know, and he's like, so he told him, no, he's not. He told him, look, and he pointed to the camera, because, you know, in federal court, they got cameras everywhere. He pointed to the camera, and he said, I'm right there on the camera, I'm recorded, giving you guys my stuff, so you can do whatever you want with it. And he turned around and started walking out. They got pissed. And they took his documents, he told me, they took his documents and threw them in the trash can. And, you know, he was black. I think they were trying to get a rise out of him so they could call security or whatever, because they did not want to file that sanction motion against the attorneys. And that's the way they were. So the guy went out and got in his car and smoked a cigarette, he said, just kind of relaxing because he was pretty angry. And then a few minutes later, he got a phone call. and it was the clerk. And the clerk told him that they had talked to a pro se attorney, and the pro se attorney told them that they needed to file the documents. And I've been doing this for a real long time, and I've never heard of a pro se attorney, but as long as the documents are filed, I guess it really don't matter, do it? So that's how you handle that. And now I usually tell people too, it's always good to take the little notepad, little notepad that the police pull out when they show up for the second time and they start asking questions. They flip that little notepad out and start writing stuff. Well, I know about that because I've seen it on TV, right? Okay, you guys know what I'm talking about. Okay, that's what you need to do. Okay, if things start going sideways, I'd whip out my notepad and I'd ask the clerk for her name or his name or employee number or whatever. And if they want to know why, I just tell them that I don't think I'm getting a fair shake here. And my legal team, remember, the legal team is going to want to know who it is that's interfering with my ability to have my case heard in court. And whoever interferes with my ability to have my case heard in court is assisting the perpetrator here in this situation. So they could be added to the list. You could put it however you want to. Okay, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. I need to know who it is that's blocking me from getting in court, because my legal team is going to want to know who it is and write their name down just to get their attention. You want to make sure that they know that you're going to be holding them accountable and that you're not going to leave out of there without holding them accountable if they don't file your stuff. Now, these tips will give you a fighting chance to get your claim on the court record so you can have your day in court. And that's what this is all about. If you are fighting to keep your house and you need a hand, head over to my website at winningcourtnow.com and make your investment into the document lawsuit package that you need to get control of your situation today. Also, guys, if you have any questions about your foreclosure situation, please leave them down in the comment section down there, and I will try and answer them. And remember, keep them short. I don't need to know everything, just a little bit about where you are now and back just a little bit. That's all we really need to know. And then I'll see if I can help you out with that. In my next video, we're going to cover how to eliminate your property taxes. And we're going to let you know why property tax collection is illegal. And obviously, you'll learn how to take care of it. So stay tuned, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Oh, and don't forget, subscribe, click the little thing right here, and make sure that you click the bell down there so you don't miss anything when we post the next video.